Serious. Former teens who went to wilderness camps, therapeutic boarding schools and other troubled teen programs. What were your experiences? I ran away from home a lot when I was young. Eventually my parents sent me to this super religious detention home in Louisiana. Here go that place. The first day there, I was stripped to my underwear and t-shirt and locked in a closet. I had a coffee can with some pine oil in it to piss in, and a mattress on the floor with one blanket and no pillow. The light switch was outside the closet, so I had no control over the light, day or night. The door had holes drilled into it about head high, and they hung a tape recorder on the door. From the outside that played nothing but hellfire and brimstone preachers and church services 8 hours a day. I was allowed out twice a day to poop, and once every other day to shower, but that was it for the first 3 weeks. When I finally got put into the general population, I made it about a week before I managed to run away, but they caught me in Dallas and sent me right back. I was locked in the closet again for another 2 weeks, but then shortly after that the state came in and shut the whole place down for abuse and neglect. It was utter and complete hell. Beatings and Jesus, 24/7. I can't even begin to describe the conditions, or the stereotypical low IQ deep south morons running the place. I've been told I should write a book about my experiences there, but what's done is done, and most of those people are dead now anyway. Good riddance, says I. Edit. This blew up while I was asleep, but thanks to everyone for the good thoughts and well wishes. I went to a wilderness program, then a residential treatment center. In the end, it was good for what was going on in my life, but it was a roller coaster. Raging out at being sent away one moment, to being awed by nature in the next, in the wilderness program, playing silly games with similar aged teens, to feeling trapped behind tall metal gates, surrounded by large staff at the residential treatment center. I learned a lot. I healed. I had some wild moments, and wished I had kept in touch with other people who were in my group. I wonder what they are doing now. Did they make it? There were pictures on the wall of the art room of people who had graduated, and a therapist was having a heart-to-heart with us, told the group to look up, then told us a good percentage of those people were dead. They relapsed, they got back with abusers, they killed themselves. It hit me in the gut. Life's hard after treatment. You've been taught a lot, then you are thrown back into your old life, and you have to use the skills for real. It's never as simple as the books explain it. Second nature and Vista, in case any fellow alums are on Reddit. I did Outward Bound when I was 18. The group consisted of about 14 of us, all between the ages of 16 and 20. One girl was sent by her parents, I assume to straighten her up. On the first night we camped, she fled. She took a map, a compass, and I think some matches, and was gone. When we woke up, we were told later she had made it to a road and hitchhiked to somewhere. I think she eventually made it home. If there are camps specifically for kids in trouble, her parents should have sent her to one of those. Edit. After reading the other stories, I think I see why her parents didn't send her to a place for trouble kids. JFC. Was sent to a Marine-style boot camp for troubled teens. I was sent there because I was an a-hole towards my parents. Discovered upon arrival I was the only person sent there who was not in trouble with the law for assault, robbery, or drug possession. And I was made platoon leader of a bunch of kids who would probably end up in juvie after the camp. Fun times. Would recommend for the amount of beatings, chewings, and gayness that went on there. Edit. Holy freaking up votes. Thank you people. Also, I'll try to answer questions as best I can. Edit 2. By gayness I mean there was a large majority of closeted or openly gay guys in the program. Some of the guys would secretly hook up in empty barracks. Some parents wanted to get help for them. Edit 3. No, I don't regret being sent there. I enjoyed my time and got my together. I learned to take charge and to be a leader, despite not wanting to be one to begin with. Edit 4. By chewings I mean verbal abuse or punishment for not being squared away from the DIs. I was definitely a troubled teen. A lot of running away, drugs, alcohol, etc. My parents sent me to a lawn school in Maine. When I arrived, I was strip searched and showered by a girl, not staff. It was pretty hellish. Abuse was the norm. It was a couple hundred kids and a very small handful of staff. Essentially if you won privileges you got to run things. until you messed up and had to begging the status climb all over again. We weren't allowed to make friends. That was called a contract and other kids would report you. Our days were spent watching each other, waiting for a chance to tell on someone, because that helped elevate your status. If you mess up enough, you get shot down. Sometimes that meant a costume meant to provoke ridicule, sometimes being put in the corner. Literally, unable to speak, not allowed to move around. Guarded for however long by another kid. If the corner person wasn't cooperative, then both got in trouble. There was also the boxing ring. One house or multi-house general meetings, where you would stand, while everyone rushed you, screaming as loud as they could about, what a terrible person you are. I can't type anymore tonight, because I'll have bad dreams. Almost 40 years later, I still see certain faces. If anyone is actually interested, I can add more tomorrow, without touchpad typus. Lol. Went to Dundee Ranch Academy when I was 15. I'm 32 now. It was shut down by the embassy for child abuse and living conditions among other things. I was there for a year, and I still have nightmares of being trapped or jailed and other triggers. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. My first gold. Thank you, anonymous redditor. My father lost custody of me for domestic violence, and I got scooped up by CPS and put into the group home system. He got custody back a couple of months later, and I ended up running away. They sent me to a place called Vision Quest, which was a place with troublemakers, but not that bad. The thing that was bad was that there wasn't any food. I was eating little single serving cups of cream cheese. Ended up running from there with another dude, and when we got picked up, I ended up in a residential treatment facility, mostly because they didn't know what to do with me, since I didn't earn any jail time along the way. That place was full of mostly Native American kids. Some of them were from rival gangs. The violence was pretty bad. Midnight beatdowns, gang fights, racial violence, sexual abuse, etc. The people running it really seemed to mean well, and were actually pretty fair about seeing what really happened versus everyone gets punished, no matter what. Despite what the other kids were like, it was the first time anyone really told me that it was my family that was wrong, and to just focus on the program and work towards an independent living program, which I did. I was in juvenile detention for a few weeks. When I was 14, I had a third-degree misdemeanor. It was basically just jail but for teenagers. The only major difference I can think of is that we mostly had our own cells. I came out suicidal and would get panic attacks for years at the smallest things that reminded me of the place. I did the Northwest Youth Conservation Corp. It is not exactly a troubled teens program, but I was put in an interesting situation. I joined because it seemed like a fun way to spend a summer outdoors, doing some hard but worthwhile work in the wilderness, and make some money to buy a home-built PC gaming rig. I knew another person joining for the 6 weeks, and it just seemed like a normal teenager summer thing. For the most part it was. Usually the crews are 5 guys and 5 girls. They did not have enough girls, so I got put on the all-guys crew. The all-guys crew had what seemed like mostly troubled kids and a few outright dangerous kids. We also got all the hardest projects and worked our off. Still loved every minute of it and reflect upon it fondly. If you are ever walking the trail along the coast to Cannon Beach in Oregon, I helped build some of it. Got the repeatedly beat out of me at a Mormon boarding school in Provo, Utah. Almost everyone there was kept on incredibly high doses of antipsychotics to keep us in line, and so we couldn't fight back. When we did, there was getting beat, strapped to a table, injected with drugs like Haldol, and the tossed naked into a concrete cell. School was a joke there, and didn't actually bother to teach anyone anything. And the therapists, well, what they and the other employees deserve probably isn't allowed to be said on here. Those that have been know what I'm talking about. Basically, the whole experience was rather quite unpleasant. I was in a very odd Christian counseling for a week, following my grandfather trying to kill me for being gay. It was basically the counselor asking questions about my father, then immediately saying, "You are not gay, your father was never around, and you are chasing that affection." The thing was, I had already experienced a lot of from my abusive childhood, sexual, physical, all of it. so I brushed it off pretty easily. It was so funny watching her smile when I would ask questions about the Bible because some of those stories are fascinating. It was like an on-off switch to counselor's brain about Bible or God good and anything else bad. Both my parents were addicts, and having to learn to pick apart their expressions to what kind of mood they would end up on was easy by the time I was 15. Unfortunately, it also got me to bury my emotions and never process the trauma. I was diagnosed PTSD in 2011, underwent therapy that changed my life. I didn't want to believe it at first, but man had my life and myself changed so much thanks to PTSD therapy. Sorry for the long post. Stoned and kind of in a reflective mood at the moment. Too long. Didn't read. Christian counselor blames my father's negligence on why I'm gay. I'm gay because I like, and sometimes what they are attached to. Edit. Used her, without direct reference to whom I was referring to, which was the Christian counselor.